And if you don't know, my mom was originally on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, so I've been featured on Bravo a few times, but this is my first time being the main character.
Riley Burruss just did the unthinkable. She called out her own mother, Kandi Burruss, in a shocking, no-holds-barred confession that has fans shaking in their boots. She revealed secrets about their strained relationship and made claims of lying and emotional neglect. This is not the Riley that people thought they knew, and believe me, you'll never look at Kandi the same way again after you hear what she said. This is the moment fans have been waiting for years. Kandi Burruss is a successful singer, businesswoman, and star of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. She has built a public image of strength, loyalty, and family first. Her daughter, Riley Burruss, has always been by her side, quiet and supportive. But now, that silence has been broken. In a shocking turn of events, Riley has come forward to tell her side of the story, in its full, unedited form. There are no cameras or edits, just the truth.
I'm supporting from afar, and you know my daughter Riley is going to be on a new show coming to Bravo, Next Gen. They just announced it last week. Yeah, so I hope you guys support my daughter Riley Burruss. Y'all seen her grow up on the Real Housewives, and now she's going to be on a new show. It's coming June 3rd, so check her out too.
What tips did you give her about entering? I mean, obviously she's a part of reality television in the past, but to a different level.
Yeah, it's a different level, and so I told her, when you're filming, stand on everything you say. Don't ever go back and try to act like you didn't say something so they can rewind the tape on you.
Roll the tape.
You have to own it, stand on it. And if you need to apologize, but don't lie about saying stuff.
Absolutely.
Because we be having a lot of liars on those shows, you know. We don't want to be, no.
Let's just say it shows a very different picture of the family unity we've been sold all these years. From accusations of being used as a brand tool to revelations about feeling emotionally dismissed and ignored, Riley doesn't hold back. Her voice, once hidden behind her mother's powerful image, is now front and center, and it's exposing cracks in the Burruss empire that fans never even knew were there. What really happened behind the scenes? How far apart are Kandi and Riley emotionally? And what finally made Riley speak out now, in the most public way possible? Stay with us, because this video will explain everything: the emotional triggers, the controversial claims, and the effect this could have on Kandi's image and her entire brand. And trust me when I say, you won't believe what Riley said about Todd Tucker's role in all of this. This is where it gets interesting. From the outside looking in, many people would say Riley Burruss had the perfect life. She was born into fame, money, and opportunity. Her childhood was spent under the bright lights of reality TV, red carpets, and celebrity brunches. But in her recent Candid Talk, which has since gone viral on TikTok and Instagram, Riley shows a very different side of herself. One not built on love and peace, but on pressure and performance. Riley didn't hold back. She started by talking about what it was like to grow up with Kandi Burruss as a mother figure. People think that a successful mom means a happy home. But for me, success came with a lot of pressure. I didn't ask for it. I was born into her brand. I didn't pick it. Riley said that even when she was young, she felt her identity was always tied to her mother's. Whether she was attending events, filming scenes for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, or posting on social media, it wasn't about who Riley was. It was always about how Riley fit into Kandi's public story. She revealed that she often felt more like a supporting character in her mother's career than a child with her own dreams and voice. But here's where it gets deep. Riley says that a lot of the luxury lifestyle came with strings attached and was based on conditions.
It's been about a year since you announced you were leaving Housewives. Did you have any FOMO or regret knowing cameras were back up, or is it all that chapter is closed and you've moved on?
Actually, I feel like it's closed for me and I moved on. I thought to myself when I was first making the decision, I was kind of like, ugh, is this smart? Like, am I doing the right thing? And anytime you've done something for 14 years straight, it's kind of like hard to walk away from it.
People expected her to be there, but they didn't always care about how she felt. There were times I didn't want to go on camera, she said. I was dealing with personal issues, school, friends, and anxiety. But it didn't matter, because everything had to look perfect. I had to smile, show up, and protect the image. And that picture wasn't always what it looked like behind the scenes. People close to the Burruss family say Riley has always been a quiet observer who took in more than people realized. Over time, that silence became a burden, especially when she was a teenager and people harshly judged her body, her voice, and even her relationship with her father, Russell Block Spencer. Kandi was often seen defending her daughter in public, but Riley says the private conversations didn't match the public support. I liked it when my mom stood up for me on TV or online, but what about when the cameras weren't on? I didn't always feel heard. When I cried at night because I was alone with my dad's stuff, I felt like I had to be strong so she wouldn't look weak. That one sentence shook up social media. It showed how complicated Riley's emotional role was. She had to be both a daughter and a protector of her mother's image. A child who had to grow up too quickly and deal with adult emotions in silence. Fans used to think Riley was just quiet, maybe even distant. But now they know she was carrying trauma all along. But this is what made people stop scrolling. Riley said things got even worse when Kandi's husband, Todd Tucker, came into the picture. She said her emotional needs weren't just ignored. Someone else's were put ahead of hers. So, what really happened when Todd moved in with the Burruss family for good? And how did it change Riley's already shaky relationship with Kandi? Riley's early years were full of quiet emotional pressure. Her teenage years brought something even more jarring, a shift in loyalty, energy, and attention that all seemed to center around one name. The 2014 marriage of Todd Tucker and Kandi was presented as a celebration of love, partnership, and blended family success. It looked like a fairy tale from the outside, but Riley paints a very different picture from behind closed doors. In her now famous voice recording, Riley said, "That's when everything changed. I didn't just lose interest, I lost touch. I didn't feel like my house was mine anymore." Todd, she said, didn't just marry Kandi. He got involved in everything: family finances, parenting decisions, even private conversations she used to have with her mother. People close to the family have been whispering about tension between Riley and Todd for a long time. But this is the first time Riley has publicly addressed it, and the details are unsettling. She says Todd tried to discipline her emotionally, accusing her of being spoiled, entitled, or disrespectful for simply expressing how she felt. He was rude, cold, sometimes manipulative in his approach, Riley said. "I didn't need a second dad. I needed my mom. But every time I tried to say how I felt, it turned into, Riley doesn't respect authority." It turned into a fight for control, not care. Fans of RHOA might remember moments on the show when Riley seemed to avoid Todd or looked visibly uncomfortable around him. At the time, many chalked it up to teenage mood swings. But now, with this context, those moments carry far more weight. Riley says she tried to talk to Kandi about how Todd was making things worse, many times. But Kandi, she says, often chose to defend her husband rather than acknowledge her daughter's pain. "I would cry, trying to explain why I felt left out, ignored, or even bullied in my own house," she said. And she would say, "Todd means well. You need to adjust." After that, I stopped talking. That silence, Riley says, turned into emotional distance. She began spending more time away from home, with school friends, activities, and eventually college. Anything to escape the feeling of being a guest in her own family. Then came the moment that truly stunned fans. Riley revealed that during a heated off-camera family argument, Todd allegedly told her, "You'll understand when you're older. You're not a priority right now." That one line broke her. "I felt like I was just a leftover piece from before he came into the picture," she said. "And my mom didn't say anything. She just stood there." Riley calls that moment the start of the emotional divorce, not from Todd, but from Kandi. She began to believe her mother had chosen her marriage over her daughter's mental and emotional well-being. And now, years later, Riley is finally telling us what it was like to grow up in one of reality TV's most famous families and feel unheard, unseen, and unsupported. But don't think this is the most dramatic part. This is where things go from bad to worse. In the third part of Riley's tell-all confession, she didn't hold back. What started as an emotional story about her strained relationship with Todd and her mother quickly turned into one of the most explosive claims to ever come out of the Burruss family. "I was treated like a new product," Riley said, her voice low but steady. And that was all it took to start the flood. Riley says everything she did behind the scenes was calculated, not for her own growth or peace, but for her public image, brand deals, and reality show ratings. She said Kandi's team pushed for photo shoots, appearances, social media moments, and even certain RHOA scenes to keep the Burruss family brand strong. "I didn't want to post or be in front of a camera sometimes. I just wanted to be left alone. But I'd hear, 'Riley, this would be good for the show,' or 'this will look strong for the brand.'" Riley said it didn't feel like love. It felt like marketing. Even her announcement about going to college, something that should have been deeply personal and celebratory, turned into a PR moment. According to Riley, Kandi's team worked with show producers, magazines, and sponsors to frame Riley as the strong, focused, brilliant daughter to bolster Kandi's image as a supermom. "It wasn't about my journey," Riley shared. "It was about how well she did as a mother. In her story, I was just a symbol." Riley started to look back on parts of RHOA that now seems strangely fake. People are talking a lot about one clip in particular, when Kandi surprises Riley with a fancy car for college. Now, people are asking, was that moment about celebrating Riley or about showing off wealth, success, and control over an image? Riley's mention of being pressured to hide her real feelings during big moments was even more alarming. People online said I looked cold or disconnected when I just sat there and smiled. They told me not to cry, not to talk about certain things on camera, and not to make the family look divided. The truth is, I was just trying to survive emotionally. I wasn't allowed to be myself. That claim has stirred major controversy online. Longtime Kandi fans are divided. Some feel sympathy for Riley, while others defend Kandi, accusing Riley of being ungrateful or manipulated by outside influences. But here's the part that even critics didn't expect. Riley says that when she finally broke down emotionally, privately, with Kandi and begged her to stop putting pressure on her for the sake of appearances, her mother's response was chilling. "I've sacrificed so much to give you a life most kids would kill for. Don't ruin it now." Riley says she froze. That moment made her realize something she had feared for a long time. Her feelings didn't matter. Her usefulness did. And then she said, "That's when I stopped trying to be her daughter and just became her product." Fans are still trying to unpack what this means. Many are now calling Riley's confession the Kardashian moment of the Burruss family, a reference to how some celebrity families are criticized for putting image and money ahead of real emotional connection. But if that part shocked people, just wait until part 4. Kandi is going to address the hate she received online from her own fans, how it made her depressed, and why she feels her mother didn't protect her when it mattered most. What Riley says next is even more heartbreaking. Riley's emotional stress had started early, but by the time she was a teenager, it was coming from everywhere. And nowhere was it worse than in the digital world. To make matters worse, Kandi Burruss, one of the most powerful women in entertainment, chose to stay silent when her daughter needed her voice the most. Riley remembers a particularly difficult time when she was bullied and body-shamed online after appearing on Real Housewives of Atlanta. She came across as withdrawn, less talkative. People on social media said cruel things like, "She's spoiled," "She's ungrateful," "What's wrong with her face?" and "She looks like she doesn't even like her mom." Riley was only 16 at the time. There were thousands of comments, hundreds of DMs. "I would go into my room and cry," she said in a shaky voice. "People didn't know me or care what I was going through. The only person I needed to say something to tell them to stop was my mom. But she didn't." Riley says she waited, day after day, for Kandi to say something, or even post something in her defense. Something that would make it clear, "This is my daughter, not your target." I saw her post about her music, her shows, her friends, but I never saw her post about me. I felt like I was being sacrificed for her peace. And what's even more heartbreaking is what happened when Riley finally asked her mom why she never defended her publicly. According to Riley, Kandi replied, "We can't feed into negativity, Riley. That's how the trolls win. But Riley didn't think that was good advice. She thought it was emotional abandonment. It wasn't about trolls. It was about her child. I needed her to fight for me, with her voice, not just her lawyers or her money. She chose to stay quiet instead of helping my mental health. That time hurt me emotionally in a big way. After that, Riley began pulling away. She skipped interviews, took a break from filming. Eventually, she left social media entirely. Friends close to her at the time say she was severely depressed and her self-esteem had collapsed. She even considered dropping out of school. She said, "I felt like no one saw me, or that I wasn't safe in my own skin." Then came one of the most revealing things Riley shared in the interview. It got to the point where I didn't even know who I was outside of being Kandi's daughter. I felt like I had no voice, no reason to be there, and no one to protect me. I began to wonder if I vanished, would anyone care? Or would it just ruin